The question is, do you trust Alabama's judges, the current Alabama criminal justice system, to potentially add more people ineligible for bail?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So Adam, let's break down these amendments. What's up? What's going on? What's going on with the amendments that's going to be on my ballot?
Alrighty, so let me first say I've already voted. I voted absentee. I am one of the folks working as a poll worker on Tuesday. Never done that before. It should be an interesting experience, to say the least. But as I voted, I, of course, had to fill out a very long ballot and flip to the back. I have a sample ballot here. For those of you watching, you can see kind of what it looks like. Basically, all of your candidates are going to be on the front of the ballot. Until you get to about the bottom right corner, there will be a question about the Constitution. Then you flip it over on the back, there are 10 amendments to the Constitution that are on the ballot. There's a lot we could say about why do we have to do that. Jacob mentioned it a little bit before the break. This is the longest Constitution in the world. It is a completely ridiculous document, and we lack home rule in the state of Alabama. So as with almost every election, there are constitutional amendments on your ballot that have absolutely nothing to do with the county you live in. And I'll get to that in just a sec. So polls open Tuesday from 7 to 7. If you are in line at 7 p.m., you can vote. Do not give up. Do not be deterred. You can vote. If you're in the polling place and something goes sideways and for whatever reason you're being told you can't vote, request a provisional ballot and deal with the Board of Registrars after the fact. But make sure you do exercise your right to vote. And on that note, I know that there are folks listening who are probably pretty disengaged from the process, are very cynical about voting. And believe me, I am one of those people. I'm incredibly cynical about the process and about the candidates that we have to choose from. But you know what? Folks fought and died for the right to vote, and I'm going to take it as an opportunity to exercise my right, even if that means I have to write in a lot of write-in candidates on the ballot to feel okay about it. So, that preamble out of the way, the first thing you need to look for is the Constitution of Alabama of 2022. That will be more than likely on the front of your ballot. And essentially what this is a not necessarily a rewrite of the Constitution, but recompiling the Constitution in a more logical order, deleting sections that have been repealed and removing some racist language that is still in the document. It does not change the substance of the Constitution. So let me be clear about that. We're not getting a new Constitution in terms of the practical impacts. It really is just changing some wording around, getting rid of some of the old racist language that is left over from the documents passed. Alabama Rise strongly urges people to vote yes. So does the League of Women Voters in Alabama, the Limestone County Democrats, and many other organizations are big yes votes for the Constitution reorder. Flip the page and you're going to get to the 10 amendments I've mentioned. Probably the most publicity has gone to Amendment 1, Anaya's Law, which is regarding bail restrictions. There was a very tragic murder that happened with Anaya Blanchard, and as tragic as that is for that family, what we're looking at is a change to the criminal justice system. And so there are some folks who are criminal justice reformers who are very skeptical of this amendment. And essentially what we're doing is, if this were to pass, it would add about a dozen charges that could make a person ineligible for bail. And there's a companion bill that's already passed the legislature that would take effect if this amendment passes, which sets out the process for the preliminary due process hearing on whether or not you are eligible for bail. So the question is, do you trust Alabama's judges, the current Alabama criminal justice system, the current Alabama incarceration system, to potentially add more people ineligible for bail? The League of Women Voters of Alabama did not take a position on it. I do know the Limestone County Democrats were opposed to Amendment 1. Amendment 2, a little less controversial. It's just about broadband infrastructure, and that allows cities and counties to basically work that the way they do economic development. Very little opposition there. Everyone I've looked at is a yes vote for that, including the women voters and Limestone County Dems. Amendment 3, also a justice-related situation. This requires the governor to notify the victim's family should they choose to commute a death penalty sentence. And this all started because of years ago, I believe it was our old friend Fob James, actually, who commuted a death sentence but did not tell the victim's family that he was doing so. And it led to the person being eligible for parole. That person has not been granted parole, but the family has kind of pushed this constitutional amendment. So the governor, if the governor wants to commute a death sentence, they would have to notify the impacted victims, and if they fail to do so, it could revoke the commutation of the sentence. And Amendment 3, no position was taken by the women voters of Alabama or the Limestone County Democrats. Amendment 4, and let me back, one last thing on Amendment 3. That was the last time a governor has commuted a death sentence. So I cannot remember when Fob James was governor, but it has certainly been a couple decades at the very least. Let's see, Bob Riley was governor when I moved to Alabama in 2001, and James was before him. So it's not an issue that comes up very often, let me say that. Amendment 4, this one is drawing some opposition from different organizations, including Democrats, including the League of Women Voters, because Amendment 4 says that election law changes within 6 months of a general election could not happen. All right, so the legislature could not make new rules for the general election within the 6 months leading up to that election. They couldn't make rules in August that would impact the November election. And the reason there's some opposition to this constitutional amendment is because it would tie the hands of the legislature should there be any emergencies, like, I don't know, global pandemics that were to happen, that might require some adjustments in our process to vote. We've been there. We've seen that. So Amendment 4 is on the ballot. I voted no. Amendment 5 is about deleting some outdated, obsolete terminology around orphans business. Not a very controversial one. I voted yes. League of Women Voters, the Limestone County Democrats, other organizations are also voting yes on that. Another non-controversial one, Amendment 6, that's regarding local municipality ad valorem taxes. I supported that. Limestone County Dems and League of Women Voters are also in support of that amendment. Amendment 7 eliminates the requirement to use the largest distribution newspaper for advertising economic and industrial development. So the law currently states that when there's economic industrial development happening, the government must notify us, and they must use the largest circulating newspaper in your area. This amendment, if passed, would basically take out that word largest for all intents and purposes. And so you could see some shenanigans where, you know, local politicians decide to advertise with a newspaper that has, you know, maybe 5% of the readership of the other newspaper, just so they could technically comply with the law while being less transparent. So I know the League of Women Voters opposes this amendment. The Limestone County Democrats opposes this amendment. I did as well. I voted no for Amendment 7. Amendment 8 and Amendment 9 are local issues. So unless you live in Shelby County, Jefferson County, or Tuscaloosa County, it doesn't really concern you. It's about their sewage systems. I personally left those blank, and most organizations are taking no position on those two amendments. But there again, that's the absurdity of Alabama's system. In Athens, Alabama, I'm voting on what kind of sewage they're going to have in Jefferson County. And finally, Amendment 10. Amendment 10 is essentially to keep the Constitution updated. So if the Constitution of 2022, that first item we talked about, if that does in fact pass, Amendment 10 kicks in to logically update the Constitution as new amendments are passed. Again, it doesn't change the substance of the documents. It doesn't write new laws. The legislature writes new laws. It's basically a organizational amendment. So, if you lost track with me, I'll tell you what I did. I voted yes for the Constitution reorder or rewrite. That's on the front of your ballot. I voted no on Amendment 1. I respect those who feel differently, but I don't trust Alabama's criminal justice system. I voted yes on Amendment 2. On Amendment 3, I think I actually left it blank because it seems to be a non-issue. Amendment 4, I opposed. Amendment 5, I voted yes. Amendment 6, I voted yes. Amendment 7, I opposed. 8 and 9, I left blank because they didn't concern my county. And Amendment 10, I voted yes. And there you go, folks. Those are the 10 amendments and the Constitution rewrite that's going to be on your ballot on Tuesday. And we were talking before the show, and I was sharing with Jacob that I got to pick between 26 offices. I had 26 offices were on my ballot. 10 of those were unopposed, with only a Republican running. Only 7 of the 26 offices had a Democrat running. 12 of the 26 on my ballot had a Libertarian running. So, but do keep in mind, folks, that you have the right to vote for a write-in candidate. And you will have that option for all of those. I had it for all 26. You have to fill in the bubble and then write out the person's name. You must do both.
Yeah.
So, I don't believe in leaving unopposed seats on the ballot. So, I'm sorry to whatever poor public servant has to count my ballot and look at and record all the names I wrote in. But I'm going to exercise my right to vote, and I'm going to vote for people that I can halfway believe in. And so sometimes that means writing your own.
There you go. Your own name or your daughter's name.
Yeah, Ida may have gotten a vote for county commission chairman. And frankly, I trust her judgment.
Yeah, I think I welcome the rule of Ida Keller.
Yeah, I mean, she knows about fairness, sharing, being nice. You know, we could use that on the county commission.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
There you go. There's your voting rundown for Tuesday. All of our Alabama folks, and wherever you're listening, please go vote. I know it can be frustrating, and I know the results are probably going to be disappointing, but exercise your right to vote. People fought very hard to get you that right that you can exercise. If you choose not to vote, I respect your choice. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to be mad at you or cuss you or do any of those things because I don't think it's helpful. If you decide that on Tuesday you have better things to do and you don't want to vote, that's on you. I just really encourage everyone to make every effort that you can. If you can make it to the polls, please do so. If you have a complication, vote a provisional ballot.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.